Hello and welcome to today's 29th webinar in the On the Move webinar series, Empower Your Mobile Workforce with Voice Technology, brought to you by Honeywell Intelligrated. I'm Tracy Niehaus, Director of Marketing for Honeywell Intelligrated, and I'm your moderator today. We have just a few announcements before we begin. Please note that this presentation's audio is provided by phone number or through your computer sound system, so be sure to turn up your computer's volume. You may ask an online question at any time throughout today's presentation in the Q&A feature along the bottom of your screen. Simply type your question into the text area and hit send. Questions will be addressed at the conclusion of the presentation, with the exception of technical questions that can be asked and will be answered real time. Please note we recommend that you be hardwired when attending this webinar. A Wi-Fi connection may result in lag time in slides updating, graphics loading, and videos playing. Today's webinar includes polling questions. Please feel free to answer these questions when they appear and be sure to click submit so we can include your response, as we will be sharing the results real time during this live event. If you'd like to revisit key sections of today's webinar, it will be available on demand at intelligrated.com/on-the-move approximately 48 hours after this live event. You'll also receive an email in a couple of days with a link to the recorded event. Now on to the presentation, Empower Your Mobile Workforce with Voice Technology. Discussing today's topic will be Geoff Anderson, Senior Product Marketing Manager for Honeywell Voice. Geoff joined the Honeywell Voice team in February of 2019 with the goal of taking on the voice enterprise software and market acceleration of the A700X body-worn computer. Previously, he had led R&D and product development teams at Verizon, Sony, and Qualcomm. Over his career, he has launched products and services which include cellular phones, security software, satellite radios, and panoramic cameras. In addition, he has hosted content websites and mobile apps. And with that introduction, the webinar will now begin.
Thank you, Tracy, and welcome everybody to the Honeywell Empower Your Mobile Workforce with Voice Technology. So our agenda will start out with a little introduction to what is voice technology, and then we've got a short minute-and-a-half video we call the 10-pick challenge, which gives you an idea of how voice is used in the enterprise. Then we'll talk about where does voice fit in, and hopefully we'll address some of your concerns and start you thinking about how you might want to apply voice in your environment. And we'll focus on, in this section, how voice works in the distribution center. But again, the application is much broader than just distribution. I'll go through at the end the key benefits of voice. Where can you find where can you get the benefit of voice? And we'll talk about some of our customer success stories. And how do you measure success? That will be a very key important role in the end. So the voice value proposition. This is very interesting. I think when you employ any new technology in your distribution center or environment, you've got to look at the process. You want to try to optimize your operation, and the deploying voice is the perfect time to look at how your operation works and discuss how you can optimize your workflow process. The idea is that your workflow performance is the cornerstone of how you operate your business. And if you can get a better process and then apply voice to it, you're going to have a much better operation when you get done. The important thing to look at when you're getting a voice technology solution, you want to look at the ergonomics. You want to select a premier worker. You want to select a technology that provides a premier worker experience. In many cases, body-worn technology can seem a little bit disruptive at first, but once your workers get used to it, it actually empowers them and gives them a sense of powerful use rather than a clipboard and a paper handler device they might have. Now, the last thing you want to look at as you're developing a voice value proposition is what kind of information can you get from the system once you deploy it. And in the case of a voice system, there are ways, if you've got body-worn computers or devices that are on your worker's body, you'll be able to gather information and send that back over the network to be able to capture what's going on during your workforce, to your workforce during the day. Okay, this is actually my favorite part of the presentation. What we do here is on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see an operator using voice to be able to do a 10-pick challenge. On the right-hand side, you'll see the same exact worker doing a 10-pick challenge with an RF device. And one thing that you want to notice, I'll stop it during the video, is that the operator on the left using voice has a much more fluid flow to his work. He also has eyes free and hands free, so there's a lot of advantages to having your eyes free and your hands free to be able to improve your performance.
Bureau 44 Bravo.
317.
Pick 2.
2.
All right, so what you just heard there was on the left-hand side, you've heard the operator and the host system communicating. He's getting commands that are coming from his warehouse management system, and it's telling him what to look for and what to pick. And then he does a confirmation using a check digit to say that he's in the right place. The management system then says, okay, pick 2, and he says 2, which means confirming his pick. So that's our first pick on the
053 Bravo.
405.
Pick 2.
2.
062 Echo.
986.
Pick 1.
1.
073 Charlie.
591.
Pick 1.
1.
092 Bravo.
269.
So if you notice, just the way the operator on the left-hand side is walking through very smoothly. He's got his hand on his tote. He's keeping control of his environment. He's able to look around and see what's, basically situational awareness. If there's something on the floor, he doesn't trip over it. And if he's working on a particular box, he's able to look down and see what he's picking up and not have something cluttering his hand. The picking on the right-hand side, when he's using the RF device, you'll see him, he continually has to look down to his right hand to see if he's picking the right item, do the scan, then look back to make sure he scanned the right item. And so it adds, again, a lot of time, but also a lot of potential for error.
Pick 1.
1.
102 Delta.
891.
Pick 1.
1.
113 Alpha.
613.
Pick 1.
1.
122 Bravo.
391.
Pick 2.
2.
122 Delta.
310.
Pick 2.
2.
133 Bravo.
973.
Pick 1.
1.
Deliver to conveyor.
Yeah, see how smooth that operation was? In the pick session on the right, he's on pick number 7, and he's still picking. The operator on the left, 52 seconds, he's done with the 10-pick challenge, and the operator on the right is still picking. And again, you see how he's constantly looking at his right hand to see what's going on with the scanner. He's continually trying to juggle that scanner so he doesn't drop it, and make sure that he's got everything set. And there you go. So basically, he's saving about 34 seconds on a 10-pick challenge. And there's many things you can do with the voice technology to be able to improve the performance. The operator is interacting with the system so that the information that he's getting from the system is then going back, and he's updating how many items are left on the shelf and things like that. Same thing you get with the RF side, but again, it's a lot more flexible for the operator. All right, so we're going to start with our first polling question. As Tracy mentioned, we're going to have 2 of these polling questions in this presentation. This first question, we're trying to get a sense of what you do, what you're using, what technology you're currently using in your facility. And so what methods are you using for for picking in your facility, and select all that apply: lights, paper, scanning, or voice. And we'll give you about 30 seconds to make your selection in the polling question. Okay, can everybody see the poll results? You need to drag that over into the screen. All right, so we see the results. Picking with lights, about 33%, paper, 67%, scanning, 83%, and voice, 33%. So it looks like there's a good mix of technology being used out in our customer base out here. Okay, moving on with the presentation. We discussed earlier, where does voice fit in the supply chain? And so we start out looking on the right-hand side with the consumer, who's really driving all the business. The consumer is the one who buys things and creates that demand, which then will generate this supply chain cycle. Consumer buys items, the store demand is generated, purchase orders are generated, the supplier then gets the purchase order, the supply delivers the products to the depot, then voice technology is employed for received and put away goods. Basically, when things come in, you can use that same, what we showed earlier, that methodology of the operator getting commands from the warehouse management system to tell them where to designate and put away the goods that are received. Once the goods are received, you turn around and use another warehouse management system scenario where you're picking the goods in, like we saw, pick to tote. You can also pick cases to pallets, and then be able to use voice to create loading and dispatch of the trucks or wherever you're shipping it. And then the next cycle is to the store, where we're doing store replenishment. You can also use voice in store replenishment. And after the checkout, you can also use voice to do other operations in the retail environment. Now, so I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail about how the voice works in the DC. We saw on the earlier slide the warehouse management system commands getting directed down to the worker. So how does that actually translate into assignments that are coming to the worker? The assignments, again, are transmitted over wireless LAN to the body-worn voice terminal. And then the voice terminal then translates those text commands into speech. So the speech that you heard from the computer, the body-worn computer, is actually generated speech. It's not actual words. So we have the technology now to be able to translate text into speech and generate that using the commands that are coming from the warehouse management system. So if we look at this section here, the operator is wearing a headset, and a blue belt is a body-worn computer. The first thing that the operator is going to do, he's going to say ready. And then after that, then the assignments start coming down to him. Once the assignments start coming down, the operator starts engaging using spoken words. And in this case, the warehouse management system is directing the operator to section 4061. And if you look at the where the boxes are, you'll see that 438, that's what they call a check digit. This is something that voice employs to be able to create a very reliable and highly accurate picking operation. Then in the blue, you'll see that pick two, that's the command that comes down from the warehouse management system. Once that warehouse management system knows you're in the right spot, picking two says, okay, pick two items. So that's how the interaction using a voice system with the worker in the warehouse. Again, let me just highlight the items that the warehouse worker is using. There's a body-worn computer, which is belt-worn, and a ruggedized headset that has an optimized speaker and microphone. And if you'll notice, one ear is going to be free so that the operator still can have his situational awareness with one ear free and one ear getting the commands from the warehouse management system. Now we'll drill down to exactly what the worker is experiencing as he is going through the interaction with the warehouse management system. The first command that the operator is going to give is he'll say ready. Then the direction from the warehouse management system is go to aisle 25. The slot location will come out as 414. The operator reads the check digit 287, and then he's given the command to pick two, and then he'll pick two and respond with pick two. That means he's confirmed that he's completed his operation. He'll go then for the next command. All right, it's time for our next polling question. This one is, what are the greatest challenges that you face in your facility and current operation? And again, select all that apply: retaining employees, reducing errors, improving productivity, enhancing worker safety, and faster training. So select all that apply, and then we'll take the poll results and we'll give you quick feedback. And again, one of the things that we see when we're talking about challenges that folks are facing, we know that the workforce is going through a transition, and you're going to need to find ways to stabilize that workforce. One of the things that we found with our customers and voice is that voice actually helps you stabilize that workforce for many different reasons: for training, for accuracy, and for that repeatability that we can provide, where the worker becomes more proficient at what they do, and then either decides to stay or allows the workforce to become much more effective. All right, here's the results. So the question was, what are the greatest challenges you face in your facility? And looks like retaining employees is the #1 challenge, 67%, reducing errors, 22%, and improving productivity. And I noticed no one selected worker safety or faster training, but we have seen that safety is quite an important issue for most of our customers. But again, retaining employees looks like that's the number one response. Okay, moving on to our next slide. All right, so we're going to go through the key benefits of a voice solution. And these are things that are measurable. And once you work out optimize your process and decide on a voice solution, these are things that you should, once you implement that voice system, be able to measure. Accuracy is an incredibly powerful thing, as we saw in the polling question, 22%. What we do to improve accuracy in using voice technology every worker is able to move about without having to stop and read a document, and they don't have to look down. And I noticed that there were quite a number of folks using paper. So this is an important thing to notice, that your accuracy improves significantly using voice technology. And over the even with the RF devices, being able to pick people's eyes up and have them hands-free is a critical important thing for improving accuracy as well. So the idea that this is measurable, we've actually done measurements on our side with our customers, and we're seeing significant improvements in accuracy of 99.97% using voice. And again, when you get into these omnichannel environments where you've got all kinds of different methods of delivering to customers, accuracy becomes even more important. Now, productivity, again, that seemed to be another important thing when we talk about not only retaining workers, but making them more productive. So the idea of using voice technology, you're reducing your travel time, you're hearing your slot on the way to your slot to pick things out. You're reaching down to pick up an item as you're hearing the quantity. So you're kind of getting these commands. You don't have to look down and fumble with your scanner to see, oh, was it 2 or was it 3? You don't have to worry about having your glasses on and making sure that you can read these small screens. So again, productivity improvement is significant and measurable. You're not using paper, you're not using labels, and you don't have that RF screen to look at. We see in the full case picking 50 to 20% increases in productivity, and in piece picking up to 50%. So significant improvements that are measurable. Now, I noticed training wasn't part of the issues that you're seeing in your facility, but what I can tell you is that part of worker retention is having a training and operations set up that will improve the ability for the workers to feel like they're part of it and doing the best they can do. For new employees, for onboarding temporary workers, we're seeing, using voice technology, about a 50% reduction in training time compared to other methods. So if you are having workforce issues and you are bringing in new people, voice will help you train your new workers and get them up to speed faster. We also have seen a very high degree of worker acceptance. And why is that? It's much easier to use. You don't have to have the holster with a RF device. You just put on your headset, you have your body-worn computer, you press a couple of buttons, there's no screen, and the commands start coming, and then you're interacting with your warehouse management system as you go through your day. And what's more important, we support multiple languages, up to 43 different languages using the same device. A couple more key benefits. I know we didn't have anybody who's concerned so much about the safety being an issue, but one of the things that we have noticed that using the voice devices, we eliminate the need for reading or keying in information. So your worker is constantly having a situational awareness of what's around them. They're not stumbling or tripping over something as they're trying to type something in. And in the case of using forklifts or other devices, you wouldn't let your kids text while they're driving their car. You certainly don't want your employees texting things into an RF device as they're driving around in the warehouse. So the voice provides a significant improvement in safety using with any kind of warehouse devices like the fork trucks or things like that. We also find that the workers are more focused, so they're able to really focus in on their what they've got to do. They perform faster, and again, they're eyes free and hands free, which means they have that situational awareness and they're able to pay attention to what's around them. Now, from a fast payback perspective, we see a significant rapid payoff. And how do we see that? And again, it's measurable. You'll see decreased errors and higher throughput. This will deliver significant cost savings. We also see that the payback will outstrip the ROI, because once you've paid that investment off in 9 to 12 months, you continue to enjoy that savings. And again, stabilize the workforce, because you're training people faster, you're getting people on board faster. And what we find again is that people are much more comfortable working with a computer than they are working with paper or other devices. All right, now I'll go through a couple of case studies where we've seen significant success bringing voice into an operation. One of the companies that we work with, Quick Trip, they've got more than 300 convenience stores. They operate a bakery and a commissary and a dairy. So it's a lot of different things going on. They also have a centralized distribution center that supplies 80% of the store stock. So this is actually a pretty good operation to install voice, because you have a centralized location. Their biggest challenge was to avoid stockouts for highly distributed stores. So when you have stores that need product fast, you've got to be able to get that product in their hand. And again, if you're talking about bakery, commissary, and dairy, those are items that are also perishable. So you're talking about using that fast delivery to be able to get things out into the market. So what was the solution? We replaced their labels and pick lists with the Honeywell voice system. We integrated with their existing warehouse management system, and we accommodated the advanced selection techniques. So what that means is we were able to do dense picking and multiple item picking using the voice technology by connecting with their warehouse management system. The result, once we worked through how we wanted to deploy, and again, we're looking at how we improve their process. We also looked at ways to improve that the way they were stocking and putting things out. But we were able, once we got that all squared away, we're able to deploy the solution in 4 days. They're now achieving 99.8% accuracy. They've got a 20% plus increase in productivity. We've saved $35,000 a year in label costs. That's, I think, again, a pretty significant thing, and that's recurring year over year, $35,000 in labels. Another success story, this is moving now into the 3PL world. Company Burris Logistics, $280 million plus cold storage 3PL. So again, working in colder operations, what you want to look for a voice solution in these operations, rugged equipment that performs well even in the coldest environments. They've got 15 warehouses in the eastern US. Each distribution center ships 45,000 cases per week. The operating temperature, minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 29 C. Again, a very challenging environment. And moreover, they had to improve their accuracy by 10%. And the objective was to increase operational efficiencies. Our solution, again, replacing labels with the Honeywell voice, the real-time interface with their in-house warehouse management system, using a connector that we call Voice Direct. It's a Honeywell connector that's a software-based tool that sends commands to the devices directly from the warehouse management system, so a direct integration. Results, we've achieved 99.88% accuracy. We increased productivity by 12% and saved $50,000 a year annually in labeling costs. They achieved their ROI in 10 months. And again, once you achieve that ROI, that continues to go forward year after year. Now, this slide here shows Honeywell voice proven results. What we've seen, not just Honeywell, but the overall voice-directed workflows provide significant improvement in productivity, reduction in errors, and reduction in training. And we also reduce turnover, because people are much more content to work with this kind of with technology versus paper and scanning. So these, what we have here is a list of measurable improvements that we've been able to achieve in the distribution centers that we work with. Again, increased productivity up to 35%, and that's an ongoing increase. We also reduce errors up to 80%. That's significant when you're working in the omnichannel world and you've got to deliver faster. We also found that we reduced the training time up to 50%. And again, once you see the training time benefits, not only onboarding, but also improves the performance and improves worker satisfaction. So that worker satisfaction turns into turnover reduction of 30%. Again, measurable, and we've got the results to prove it. Now, safety incidents, when you reduce safety incidents by 20%, you're finding a significant saving and a significant reduction in other costs, the soft costs that go along with safety incidents, and whether it's legal troubles or having workers that can't work because they've been injured. So that's a significant advantage. Again, eyes free, hands free is the way we sell this technology. So just to give you some statistics on why do you want to work with a partner like Honeywell? Well, we've got a long history of deploying voice solutions. We've got about 1 million people using voice technology from Honeywell today. Our annual customer savings are now calculated at $20 billion a year. We are installed in 60 countries, and we support 43 languages. And how many members do you have in the Honeywell team? 2,000 plus members, all working to make your warehouse and your facility a better performer. Okay, this is the last slide. I'm just going to go through a quick summary of what the solutions look like. Honeywell voice technology has been offered for 25 years. We've got 5 generations of product out there in the field now. We use a world-class voice recognition technology and designed specifically for noisy environments, because we've got, folks using rollers, fork trucks, and other devices. We have sampled noise up to 100 decibels, which is pretty loud, and we still perform excellent in that environment. We also have different technology for different applications. So we have wireless, we use Bluetooth, we use near-field communication, and we use Wi-Fi, and we communicate with our devices, and we communicate with the warehouse management system. We've got significant experience in warehouse management system integration. And most importantly, I think this is what our customers really appreciate. We've got 24/7 technical support, and we also offer professional services to be able to help you get over that hurdle and make that integration. Okay, with that, we'll move on to questions. And again, thank you very much for the opportunity to present, and hopefully we can take some good questions.
All right, thanks so much, Geoff. Really appreciated your time to walk us through that presentation on Honeywell Voice. And as Geoff mentioned, we're going to move on to the Q&A portion of our live event. And as a reminder, you may ask a question online at any time through this Q&A portion of the event. Just use that Q&A feature along the bottom of your screen. So we do have quite a few questions that have come in. Geoff, so I'll go ahead and get started. Let's see, our number one question, well, not our number one, sorry, our first question, it could end up being our number one, I don't know, but you mentioned the operator gets the commands from the warehouse management system over Wi-Fi. So what happens if the Wi-Fi gets disconnected? Will the operator still be able to perform their job?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm not sure about other providers, but what Honeywell provides, we've got, as I said, a body-worn computer, and you can work offline without any problem. So the operator is able to download their task, and they can perform their entire workflow locally on their device. So the idea is that when you maybe are offline if you go into a freezer, or you go into a harsh environment, or you're maybe walking around a campus environment, or you're going off-site. The device will hold and maintain that your workflow and your tasks, and it will record everything that you do. And when you get back online, which means get back in the Wi-Fi range, you get connected to the network, and all that information then is transported back to the warehouse management system. Everything is updated, and you can then download more tasks. So yeah, that's a great question. And again, we see in the warehouse environment, Wi-Fi is not always as reliable as you'd like, so we do offer that as an option.
All right, okay, this is an interesting question. It is, what if we need a combination of voice, scanners, or printers? How can we have the best of all worlds?
Yeah, again, that's another good question. And the Honeywell team, our strategy is to allow for the maximum flexibility and configurations. And this is something that, as we said in the beginning, the process upfront review is very important. We'll work through that process with you to see where the pain points are. We'll look at ways that we can optimize that, what we deliver to you as a solution. And again, using the maximum flexibility and configuration, we've got wireless connections on our body-worn devices that allow you to connect to Bluetooth scanners, Bluetooth printers directly to the device. We have near-field communication for immediate pairing, which allows you to integrate that device then into your workflow. And so the body-worn computer becomes the centerpiece of that workflow. So the warehouse management system will deliver the commands. The first command might be a voice command. The second command might be a scan command. And you build that out as you optimize your process. And again, that becomes part of the integrated solution that each operator is going to be using. So yeah, that's the best of both worlds, or best of all worlds, as we say, using all the devices.
All right. Okay, you talked about the baseline for statistical improvement towards the end of the presentation using voice. And how exactly are those improvements measured?
Okay, yeah, let me go back to that slide. And all right, so these were the improvements that we talked about. And what you see here is that we actually have a range of improvements. So we use a number of different ways to measure this. If you're moving from paper picking to picking with voice, you may be on the top end of that, like say 35% improvement. If you're moving from an RF picking to voice picking, it may be lower. You may not see as much improvement. So that's why we offer a range, because we have a different, we measure things based on what technology you're coming from. So yeah, we take all those measurements into account, but again, it's measurable. After the solution is done and implemented, you can go back and measure and see where your improvements are.
Okay, let's see. What kind of devices can be worn by the operator, and does Honeywell run voice on Android operating systems?
Oh yeah, another good question. So yeah, for global deployments, I think our customers are really demanding, you've got to have open operating systems for the sustainable future. So we started out using Microsoft Windows CE on our devices, and that really used to be the operating system of choice. But now the demand is for Android and Linux-based operating systems. And so we also employ both Android and Linux. We've always provided options to deploy on systems that customers have used. And again, we've supported Windows CE or Windows Mobile and handhelds since 2005. So again, as we move to smaller, lighter devices, we're looking at Android. We have options now for Android voice operations. And we also provide development tools, because once you get a new device, you might want to develop your own application as well. So we've got development tools to develop the applications, and we also find other tools that are able to integrate into the back-end systems. We integrate into systems such as SAP, Microsoft Dynamics using direct connection. We can also customize a connection to your internal warehouse management system.
All right, okay, so we've had a couple questions come in about language, so I think I'm going to group a couple of these together. Two in particular. One is, can you tailor language translations to the individual worker? And the second part of that would be, can one facility operate using different languages?
Yeah, that's a great, two great questions. So languages are personalized on the individual device, and the operator can even change languages during their operation. So in a warehouse, we, again, operate globally. Some of our warehouses in Europe, some of our customers in Europe are using 5 or 6 or even 7 languages in the warehouse, and each operator chooses the language they want to operate in. There's no change to the actual warehouse management system. The warehouse management system provides the command, and depending on what language the operator has set on their local device, that command is translated using our text-to-speech translator into the language they select. So yeah, it's a very powerful system, and again, allows the maximum flexibility depending on what customers want to do.
Okay. Can you run voice with other technologies like pick-to-light?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So voice integrates well with other technologies, and we like to be able to provide the best of all solutions, so that, you know, in the case of dense picking, where you've got a warehouse that has say 100 different items on a very small shelf, sometimes the pick-to-light works better, and you might have one section where you do picking with pick-to-light, and then you move on to a different section where you're using voice for your picking. So we do integrate well, and again, that the voice commands are, you know, the warehouse management system will direct you to use the pick-to-light system now, and then switch back once you're done to the voice system. So yeah, very highly integrated and easy to switch back and forth with different technologies.
So this next question can kind of build onto that. It is, what is the decision process to select a technology to solve the business problem, and what are the trade-offs to select voice versus scanning or voice versus automation?
Yeah, so it's you're basically, the choice isn't an either or, but it's a how can these technologies be combined together to produce that the overall optimum result. What we see right now, about 20% of our customers are using voice plus scanning, and so that's an important part of whatever they're using it for. It could be for confirmation, and we find that the scanning is very helpful in an omnichannel environment when you're trying to deliver 99.999% accuracy, where you want that last level of confirmation that what you're delivering, in the case of delivering to an end customer from a facility, you want to have that absolute accuracy, the best accuracy you can. Sometimes scanning can deliver that. Voice is also often used with the with automation for sortation of exceptions, and also for non-conveyables.
Okay, next question. I've heard that voice is hard to install or takes a long time to install. Why should I do that instead of using a technology like scanning that can be installed more quickly?
Okay, so yeah, again, it's a preference, really. It's, you know, if you're looking at doing an overall change of the way you deal with your workforce and improving your processes and stabilizing that workforce, the adding voice, again, provides significant benefits in accuracy, and also improves the hands-free, eye-free worker performance for for optimizing how they do their job. So, again, everything is a trade-off. If you need to get out running and want to do something fast, then scanning could be the right option. But again, start out in the beginning, looking at your process, do an analysis, and see what technologies will work best and what technologies will improve different parts of your process. So it's not that voice is harder to install or takes longer. It's just that once you decide what you want to do with your process, there may be different ways you want to go. Voice, again, provides significant improvements. What we've seen, again, one of the examples that I showed, they were up and running in 4 days. So it depends on how much work you want to do up front to get it ready.
Okay, all right, here's another question for you. This application is compatible with any type of WMS is the first part, and then the second part is how long will it take to implement the system? Which you sort of just answered, but touch on that again.
Yeah, and every warehouse management system is different, so it's hard to give a rule of thumb that you would use. We have different connectors for different warehouse management systems. So we've got one that provides a full body of capability, allowing reporting and things like that to go back and forth between the system and our devices. And we provide a significant amount of support for either our partners or for the customer to do it themselves. And again, it's something that somebody's got to come in and figure out what you do, how you do it. But Honeywell provides significant flexibility. And again, we port directly to SAP, Microsoft Dynamics, which are two of the biggest ones that we see out there as well. So we do have very fast and easy ways to integrate with all different types of systems.
Okay. Something that you've mentioned several times in your presentation was dense picking. We have a question just asking for, maybe a clarification on what exactly you mean by that when you say dense picking.
Yeah, so I don't have a picture of it, but if you, what it is in some warehouses where you have a lot of small items and they're kind of grouped together for the retail environment, and there may be 5 or 6 or 7 that you want to pick for each pick. So you'll have these things stacked very close together and stacked really high. There may be 100 different items in a small 10 by 7 location. So that's what we call dense picking. And sometimes with the voice, it's easier than the scanner, but sometimes the pick to light might provide a better advantage in the dense picking environment.
Okay. All right. The voice solution seems like it's something that's used in large warehouses with great success, but is there an option for smaller warehouses? And this is just kind of me adding on to the end of that. I mean, is there sort of a recommended square footage where a solution like voice makes the most sense?
Well, from Honeywell's perspective, we are building products that go from small to large. So we're trying to address all the different markets, all the different warehouses, and so we don't have any limitation. If you got a very small warehouse and you want to improve the processes there, we can employ a very scalable solution. And again, a single workflow for scanners and printers interconnected with that, we can work on that scale. So yeah, we're again scalable. The voice technology is the same when we apply it on the small level. So you're getting the power and benefit even in a small warehouse from this 25 plus years in developing voice technology.
Okay. All right. This next one is just a little bit long, so just bear with me for a moment. So the question is, what if I have facilities in Canada, Mexico, and the US, and I want to have the same workflow for operators speaking U.S. English, Spanish, French Canadian, and maybe even Brazilian Portuguese. How can a single voice application be used for all of these languages and dialects?
Yeah, that's that is a long question, but it's actually really important to note that you can use a single workflow and communicate with all the different operators in their language of choice. And again, I said we've got 43 different languages. You can develop one workflow. That workflow then, when it gets to the device, it's translated directly into the language that the operator selected on that device. When the worker comes back in tomorrow, he's going to load his profile, select that same language. It will play back in the exact same language every single day. So it's, again, very powerful technology. At Honeywell, we have really focused on implementing something that is not only reliable, but supports all these different languages around the globe, because we know that operations are not just one language and one location, that you've got to have that same workflow that operates around the world. So yeah, we do solve that problem for you.
Okay. Okay, next question. Can you control robots with voice? And I should say, well, yes, that's what we did at our booth at PAC Expo, but I'm sure you have a more thorough answer to that question.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a funny question, because we did demonstrate voice commands with our robotic solution. And I really enjoyed that myself, because I was actually one of the folks on the floor that worked with the robots. So it was empowering to use voice commands. I was telling the robots to pick things up and drop them off. I was giving commands to the robots to go into maintenance mode and telling robots to go charge their battery. It was a really interesting dynamic. And again, that's the way of the future. We've got the voice technology will be used in the future warehouses to control robots, automation. And again, the thing about the voice technology, as we saw in the video, your eyes are free and your hands are free. So you are able to move and do things and interact then over the voice commands to the warehouse management system. And I think that's really the most important part. But yeah, I've been talking to robots, so it does work.
All right, well, thanks, Geoff, again, much appreciated. And that's all the time that we have for questions today. And thanks to all of the attendees for their participation. That was a great Q&A session. If we were unable to address your question during today's live event, we will send you a response via email. And just as a reminder for everyone on the webinar today, within approximately 48 hours after this live event, you can access this presentation on demand at intelligrated.com/on-the-move. You'll also receive an email in a couple of days with a link to a Honeywell Voice white paper, Is Your DC Hiding Something?, that discusses how voice-guided workflows can avoid or eliminate unproductive time and inefficiencies hidden in DCs and warehouses to improve operations and reduce costs. And I guess what I forgot to mention there is you'll also get a link to the on-demand version in that email. So again, thank you, Geoff, for being a great presenter today. And on behalf of Honeywell Intelligrated, thank you to everyone on the line for attending today's On the Move webinar. We'll be resuming our webinar series in February 2020 and sharing registration information about this event early in the new year. We hope that you'll be able to join us then. And I'd like to close by wishing everyone a wonderful holiday season and prosperity in the new year. Thank you and have a great day.